The warning signs were there from the beginning. That's the part that still bothers me the most. Not that something terrible happened, but that it happened slowly, clearly, and with more chances to stop it than any of us wanted to admit. It started when my cousin Mark and his girlfriend Lena moved into a small rental house on the edge of town. The place was older, surrounded by trees, and cheaper than anything else in the area. Mark called it a steal. I called it isolated. He just laughed and said that was the point. The first warning sign came during the move. While carrying boxes inside, Mark found a dead bird on the front porch. Its neck was twisted at an unnatural angle, feathers scattered in a neat circle around it. Lena recoiled and suggested they clean it up before bringing anything else inside. Mark shrugged. Probably a cat, he said, kicking it into the yard with his shoe. They kept moving. The second sign came that night. Lena texted me around midnight, saying she kept hearing someone walking around the house after Mark fell asleep. Slow, careful footsteps. When she checked, nothing was there. I told her old houses made noise and tried not to sound worried. She sent back a single message. It doesn't sound like the house. The third sign showed up the next morning. Mark found muddy footprints leading from the back door into the kitchen. Bare feet, small. Too small to be his. Lena swore she hadn't gone outside. Mark assumed it was from before they moved in. Old dirt. Old marks. They washed the floor and forgot about it. Over the next week, things escalated. Cabinets left open. Lights turned off that had been left on. A chair repositioned to face the hallway. Each incident was small enough to explain away on its own. But together, they formed a pattern no one wanted to acknowledge. When I visited, I felt it immediately. The house was quiet in a way that felt intentional, like it was holding back sound. The air inside felt heavier than outside, even with the windows open. I mentioned it casually, joking about the place having bad energy. Lena didn't laugh. That night, I stayed over. Around 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of whispering. Not loud enough to understand, but close. Too close. I lay there listening, my heart racing, waiting for it to stop. In the morning, Mark told me I must have dreamed it. The fourth warning sign came when the neighbor stopped by. An older man who lived down the road knocked on their door and asked how long they planned to stay. When Mark answered casually, the man's expression tightened. People don't usually last long in that house, he said. Mark laughed it off. We're not planning on leaving anytime soon. The neighbor hesitated. If you hear someone call your name at night, he said quietly, don't answer. Mark thanked him politely and shut the door. They didn't talk about it afterward. The fifth warning sign was impossible to ignore. Lena woke up one morning with fingerprints on her wrist. Dark bruises in the shape of long fingers. Mark insisted she must have slept on it wrong. Lena cried and said she knew the difference. That night, she begged Mark to leave. Just for a few days. A hotel. My place, anywhere. Mark refused. It's stress, he said. You're letting your imagination run wild. That was the final mistake. The next morning, I got a call from Lena. She sounded exhausted, her voice flat and distant. She said Mark had gone to work and hadn't come back. His phone was off. His car was in the driveway. I drove there immediately. The front door was unlocked. Inside, The house felt wrong in a way that made my skin prickle. Too quiet. Too still. Lena was sitting on the couch, staring at the hallway. He went to check the noise. She said softly, "What noise?" I asked. "The one that sounds like him. We found Mark in the basement. He was alive, but barely conscious, sitting against the wall. Eyes unfocused, lips moving silently. His hands were scratched raw. Fingernails broken. The basement floor was covered in footprints, all barefoot, all facing him. He never fully recovered. He can't sleep in the dark anymore. He refuses to be alone. Sometimes he wakes up screaming, insisting someone is standing just outside his door, mimicking his voice perfectly. They moved out 2 days later. The landlord never asked why. Months. Afterward, Lena admitted something she'd never told Mark. On the first night in the house, before anything else happened, she'd heard someone whisper from the basement. It had said her name. She hadn't answered. Mark had. And that was the only warning sign that truly mattered.